Midlife is supposed to be the time when things settle down. The kids grow up, careers feel stable, and life just gets a bit simpler, right? Well, that's not always how it plays out. Careers shift, marriages strain, parents age, health changes, and suddenly you're rewriting the script entirely. Today's guest knows exactly what that feels like. Kate Halfpenny is a columnist for The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald, the founder of Bad Mother Media, and an author. Kate's just written Boogie Wonderland, a memoir about sea changes, marriage, addiction, menopause, and empty nesting. Kate's story mirrors a lot of what we're hearing from you, our listeners. So how do you thrive while navigating what can be a tumultuous time of life? That's today on Money and a Good Life. My name's Stephanie Coombs and I'm here with my co-host and the money expert, Ryan Watson. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm excited.
I'm interested to see where I think we could go anywhere and everywhere today.
I really feel like we can as well.
Yeah.
And usually we've got your people in the studio, money people. But today we've got...
What about my people?
Sorry, they are your people. But today we have one of my people in the studio. Hello. We're joined by Kate Halfpenny. She's a writer, columnist, author, and self-proclaimed terrible kitchen dancer. I think that's a nice little addition to your curriculum vitae.
But an enthusiastic kitchen dancer. Yeah.
Kate, welcome to the show.
Bring the energy. Thanks, Steph and Ryan. How are you? I love that we've already divided down party lines as well.
Haven't? Yeah, exactly.
You and I seem to be allies. And Ryan's on the outer.
You have no idea how good that feels for me, because usually it's these guys talking about like being responsible with money, and I'm just not doing that.
I think it's hilarious that you've brought in someone whose motif during life has been financial irresponsibility. So I'm hoping that some of Ryan's his finesse with it rubs off on me.
I've been waiting for that as well, and we've been doing this for about a year now.
We have. Well, at Tribeca, we pride ourselves. One of our purposes is around being brave and skewing the status quo. So I think we're being real brave today.
Yeah,
we
are.
Really skewing the status quo.
So what did draw you to journalism, Kate?
Oh, well, the $110 a week that was on offer at the time when I left school.
Money.
Yeah. I got a place in law at Melbourne Uni, so I was literally 18 years old. And thought, what? Do I really want to go to uni when I can make $110 a week? Think of all the things I can do with that. So, yeah, whacked on my little Laura Ashley skirt and shirt and my fake sports girl pearls and clip-clopped off to work at the Herald, which was then the Broadsheet Herald. Yeah, got a cadet check there.
Yep.
Yeah. It was amazing in Flinders Street. It was fantastic.
I mean, it's funny. I know a lot of journalists, and for some reason it was either law or journalism. I don't know. They're kind of two sides of the same coin for a lot of people. When I was doing my master's, it was going to be law or journalism. And I also chose the less fiscally responsible option, obviously.
But how much fun have you had?
Oh, it's so fun. It's such a fun career. I mean, but I think that we can both be honest. It doesn't really pay the big bucks, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I remember as a second-year cadet, my best friend was one of the copy boys, and one of his jobs was handing out the pay slips every week. And you'd get your little manila envelope with the money in it in cash.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I remember him coming over to me once and saying, blah, 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 who was one of the senior old guys. I say old, he was probably younger than I am now. He said he earns $800 a week. He earns $800 a week. I'm like, what? That's not possible. No one can earn that much money. It seemed extraordinary.
Yeah.
He's like, I saw it. He opened it.
Yeah. You're like, oh, wow.
He opened it.
That could be us one day. Can you imagine?
And lucky he didn't go down the legal path. So he didn't know.
Well, he's probably counting the money so that he could duck off to the pub and off to put some money on the ponies at lunch. So,
see, now we're talking stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a great way, because this is a financial podcast, it's a great way to actually double your money, or even better sometimes. Isn't that right?
Such a smart thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're all about responsible financial choices.
Well, we're all about good life, right? And that's part of your good life. And you have a hobby and enjoy going to races, then
don't do that. Jeez, don't do that. So you've gone obviously from a wonderful career in writing and journalism and all the fun of that to another big earning career, which is being an author. What inspired you to write Boogie Wonderland?
I love that you said big earning career when the actual average income for a writer in Australia is $18,000 a year.
Isn't that incredible?
I know, it's amazing. And we're not talking freelance journalism now, like it's a different thing. But if you want to sit down and you've had that novel bubbling away inside you, or your memoir, it's about $18,000 a year that you will earn. Why did I decide to write the book? It was sort of by accident. I was approached by a firm press, which is a big Melbourne publishing house, who said, we love your writing and your columns, and one of them's taken our fancy. Do you want to write a book about it? And at that stage, I think it was an ego thing more than anything. You know, I used to go into bookshops and see books written by journos whose raw copy I had seen. And I thought, what? That guy's written a book? Like, why haven't I written a book? So there was something always pricking away at me, at my ego. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to have a crack at this. And at the time, it seemed sort of like a no-brainer. You know, we will pay you this amount as an advance, which was not bad, 70,000 words. So I figured I could knock off 2,000 words a day and have it done in 35 days. That was my plan. Because
what a great plan.
Yeah, well, 2 years later, the book came out.
I hear that story time and time again from writers that, like, I do not know an author who has managed to stick to a deadline. It's so hard. It's so much harder than people realise having to churn out that much copy.
Well, I actually stuck to the deadline, you know, like the deadline was, well, let's sign you up in June, file by December, which I did, you know. The deadline was no problem. You know, it was me thinking I'm just going to get it out of the way really fast and go back to private clients and making a little bit of money. But by the time, you know, you have your first draft edited, maybe you do another structural edit, get it out, they have to print it. Yeah, it's a longer process than you think.
What did it feel like when you saw it out in bookstores for the first time?
Oh, I was sobbing. I went down to the local bookstore and they just had the box of books come in, and literally I was able to get the Stanley knife out, open the box, and there was my book, and I was sobbing. I was a mess. It felt amazing. Just the fact that I had done it, you know, like not many people get the opportunity to write a book. To get a deal with a major publishing house that they haven't even sought. You know, I don't have an agent. It literally just sort of fell into my lap. So, yeah, it felt incredible. I was really proud of myself.
Yeah. And what is the book about? So in your words, give us an appraisal of what you've written about.
Yeah, I mean, it's called a memoir, but I don't see it as that. It's more like a string of midlife stuff-ups and cautionary tales. So it tells the truth really about one random midlife woman and her travails. I've thrown everything in there. There's redundancy, there's taking the wrong job and being recruited to what it was close to a workplace cult, a sea change, there's perimenopause, there's a nudie run around the block, there is empty nesting, there's financial issues, and there's also my husband's alcoholism, which became a theme while I was writing the book. And, you know, initially I was the deal that I signed with a firm was Boogie Wonderland was going to be called Reverse Sea Change, and it was going to be about a midlife couple who moved from the city in Collingwood. We had a great place there, down to the beach, you know, doing that time-honoured thing of the sea change where we always imagine the grass will be greener when we get there or the sea will be warmer. You know, that's a dream for a lot of us. And that was what I was signed up to do, to write that story and about how we decided about a year and a half into it to rent back in the city. So they wanted to do a reverse sea change book, but I was writing it in real time and all of these other issues were coming up, which were woven into the book. And I think when I did send the first manuscript off, they got a bit of a fright, like this is not what we wanted.
And what I'm interested in, Kate, is has this always been your true level of honesty and bravery, or is this something you've grown to?
Oh, that is such a good question. I used to be quite good at lying. I probably still am quite adept at it.
So that's some good awareness.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was, you know, like I was able to lie quite easily, and at times that got me into a bit of strife, and at other times I got away with it really easily and hated myself just as much. So when I started writing the column, coming up to 5 years ago now, was approached by The Age to do that. I saw it as a really great opportunity to write honestly about midlife. You know, I've been in the media for a long time. It's only in the last 5 years that I've written about myself. Until then, as a journalist, you keep yourself out of the story. And that's what I was trained to do. So it was this really liberating feeling of, God, I can actually say things how they are. And not many people do it. We really don't. You will not see much honest writing in the media. There is always a spin to it. Something will be skewed. People don't reveal much of themselves. And I think I found that I spent nearly 23 years as the exec editor of Who magazine, and that was very much, what can you ask these celebrities, what's allowed, what isn't? And you would have to then write a story which was ostensibly a true story about what was happening to them. And certainly everything was always true, but no one ever gave much away. If someone said to you, I'm in love with someone, it was like a major scoop. People keep their lives close to their chest. So this just seemed an opportunity to let it all out.
Like the shackles, 5 years ago, the shackles were off. You got a bit of a mandate and you went for it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally. And it doesn't always work out brilliantly for me. A great friend of mine whose husband is very well known in Australian media and who is quite divisive got in touch with me as soon as I started the column and said, I want you to promise me you will never read the comments section ever. I'm like, but what if people are saying nice things? She said, doesn't matter. Your job is actually to create some debate and to create some awareness around an issue. That's your job. And if it divides people, you've done your job. That's what you're being paid for. Do not read the comments.
Sounds like very sage advice.
I don't know. I always read the comments when I publish.
How do I know you're going to say that, Steph?
It used to when I was, a fair bit younger, when I was first writing, really upset me because I'm someone who writes about myself a bit here and there, but now I think I can actually have a bit of a sense of humour about it. Like if you come to it with a bit of levity, I found that sort of help. But even then, even if you've got a pretty thick skin like I do, and I've been online for as long as there's been the internet, and I've been on all this Instagram or whatever, you have to deal with the masses. But every now and then there's one that'll just land. Even now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have a thick skin or not. I thought that I did, but, some of the things that I've written, which for me were, and in fact, the column that sparked the idea for the publisher to write the book, which was literally just about, how we'd been at the coast for a year and a half. We both missed having a toehold in the city. We rented a 1-bedroom apartment, $500 a week. No big deal. The comments, within an hour, there are over 1,000 comments on the Facebook page, as if I was somehow Twiggy Forrest and I was buying up all of Australia. I was
I'm genuinely stunned. Really?
Oh, hello. I was responsible for the housing crisis in Australia. It was people like me who were ruining Australia. I got death threats over it. I got threats that people were going to come. They found me on Instagram and looked at pictures of my dog. We're going to come and kill your mangy dogs. We're going to hurt your mum. Pray that we don't find out where your children work. It was full on. This is the sort of stuff that happened, and after that it was just like, nah, this is too much. It's I'm literally just telling you, my marriage is a little bit strained because we've left everyone and everything we know in Melbourne and we've moved to the coast where I don't have a job, I don't have kids around, I'm trying to find my new identity. So we decided just to rent this little apartment.
At the end of the day, it's your life,
right?
But everyone else is. Well, not everyone else. The minority have an opinion on that.
No,
so this might be to my ignorance.
I have also experienced this where you can put the most benign thing out on the internet, and I don't know if we just have this sort of now ingrained.
Tall poppy.
I reckon it's almost like a bias towards negativity.
Okay.
That is discourse is negativity, and that. Someone has an opinion, and therefore the default is to have an opposite opinion, and that creates this sort of strange friction. But like you could say, I mean, look, you go on Instagram and look at a video of someone playing with a kitten, and there'll be 1,000 comments being like, that play is too rough, or that poor cat, you're abused. Like people are.
Well, see, I'm not on Facebook or Instagram, so this is probably why I don't understand.
But like, and that's just on an Instagram video. But if you're actually broadcasting your opinion out into the media at large, that then gives people, they think that they have license to go for you in whatever capacity they feel is appropriate.
Absolutely. And, as I said, I am being paid to have an opinion, and sometimes it is very benign. I like to write fluffy, soft stuff.
Yeah.
It's not always, in fact, it's rarely a hard-hitting opinion, but it is an opinion. And, I'm happy to create debate about that. That's the job, but I really hate it if my family gets attacked or...
The personal.
Yeah, which is why I just, I literally write it. I'm happy with it. I show it to my husband. He says, great, and I send it off and pretty much forget about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think that there's an interesting topic there that it is worth getting into, which is the sea change that doesn't happen exactly how you think it's going to happen. Because, I mean, that's the dream of a lot of people, I mean, you'd love to buy a farm, Ryan.
I
You've
would.
spoken about this.
It's more the tree or the green change, I suppose.
Yeah, right. But like the moving away from the city life, there's so many people in midlife who are like, well, now's the time to do something drastic and reward myself for all the hard work. But your experience wasn't necessarily how you thought it was going to go. So what did happen?
Yeah, I mean, what you say is exactly right. We all have, I think, this idea of utopia in our mind, the phase that we get to. And for me, I thought by the time I was 50, I was going to have broken my addiction to Italian shoes. I would not have rosacea anymore. I wouldn't have money problems, and I would not have relationship issues. You know, that's how you imagine it to be. And, you know, you get there and it's actually not. You know, for me, I think midlife, especially with finances and relationships and career, has been like whack-a-mole, you know, that game where you just whack them all and it just keeps popping
and then
up.
another one comes up, another one pops up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, you know, with the sea change, and that came after COVID, coming up to 5 years now, we wanted to – who knew what was going to go on in the city, right? No one knew what the next couple of years were going to look like. And I had taken a really weird, bad job that nearly drove me bananas. So it just seemed like a really good time. Let's cut our losses. We had a huge mortgage, like massive after divorce. You know, it's not just emotionally ruinous, financially ruinous. So I was carrying, well, it was about $800,000, which was, you know, that's a hefty mortgage when you're in your 50s. Fortunately, we put the kids through school and all that sort of stuff, but I still wanted to have enough money to build a lifestyle, and it just seemed like the sea change was a great idea. You know, get a beautiful house on a really big established block for about half of what our Collingwood place was worth. You know, have a tiny little mortgage and lots of spending money and freedom. And pretty much all of that has still come to pass. Like that was the upside of it. But I think what people don't prepare themselves for with any sort of change in life, whether it's a sea or tree change or, you know, career, relationship, you think that the shiny new thing is always going to be shiny and new, and you pretty much find out that there isn't. There's always going to be issues with it. So it was very much, you know, how we dealt with those, I think, that has set the tone for the last 4 or 5 years. And, you know, like where we live is really beautiful. I boogie board almost every day, which is lovely. I love walking my dog on the beach, but it shuts down at 5 o'clock. You can't get a coffee after 3. And a lot of the time it's really boring.
So what I'm hearing, Kate, there's preparation needed for the change. The change isn't all just positive or upside. There needs to be some thought around the change. Absolutely, Ryan. Yeah, you definitely need to do that. And we sold our house here in 10 days in the middle of the pandemic. Okay.
Wow.
And then
that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah. It was amazing. And then bought another place, first place we saw, like a week later. Yeah, it was all very much, we're doing this, and we did.
That's high conviction stuff. That's high conviction.
It is.
I mean, I like to jump. I like to make my mind up and put it into action. There's no point, you know, if you make the decision to let it just roll around, you know, take action. So that's what we did. And the precursor to that was that I've had a friend who was a coach who said to me, you can't get what you want until you know what you want. And it sounds sort of basic, but it's really true. You know, I think a lot of us don't ever really work out what our goals are in life, be they romantic or financial or career-wise, anything. We think that that it's all just going to flow organically for us. And I think that that's kind of a mistake. So when he said, you know, I want you to sit down, I don't want you to have had any booze beforehand. You've got to write it longhand, no computers. It's got to be your hand and your thoughts. I thought it sounded really dicky, you know, like a 14-year-old sitting down with a glitter pen, like, dear diary, I want to go to the disco with that boy, that whatever. So anyway, I wrote it down. It was really fascinating what was coming out of me. And I started really slowly. And then by the end of it, it was like, do not want to be beholden to banks. Never want to work for assholes again.
It sounds like a really organic process.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing. You know, 3 pages, want to help young mothers with babies, you know, things like that. It was really amazing. And that sort of set the tone for what we wanted to do. And so when I finished it and said to this guy, you know, do you want to hear what I've written? He goes, no way, nah. I don't need to do that. Yeah. The only thing for you to do now is put it into action, make it happen. Like, oh, wow, is there any more behind that? He's like, no, just look at what you want, go get it. So I think that that's really valuable intel for anybody. Don't just have this vague dream of I want to, you know, live by the beach or whatever.
I want to be rich or, yeah, you know,
well,
yeah.
I mean...
But I think I'm a huge I really believe in journaling and writing stuff down. I think that there's a forgotten connection as we go further into ChatGPT and AI between like the brain and hand. Physically write, and typing is not quite the same thing. You have to slow down your thoughts when you're writing it down.
And this piece around having short, medium and long-term goals, Kate, we know that when people first come to Tribeca, that's the key thing that they don't have. So they might have varying degrees of security and freedom of choice, but it's not the documented goals. Therefore, being respect, there's a lack of commitment. There is no significant direction. So therefore, it wags and wanes.
Exactly right. Yeah. See, I love that you say that all the time and that you're onto it, because for me, I think that everything, I'm 59 now and I've still never in my life had a CV ever, because things have just always fallen into my lap and I've accepted that as the journey, oh, I'm pregnant. I'm 26. I'm pregnant again at 28. Like everything just sort of happened and I wouldn't change that for anything. But I felt like I wanted to be more strategic with this particular part of my life. Let's say I've only got 20 more years of being healthy, for instance, in which to do everything I want to do. I need to have a plan for that. So that was a really good basis by which to start. We knew that we wanted to live by the coast. Okay, tick, let's do that. We knew that I didn't want to necessarily have a full-time job anymore. Start my own ramshackle little business. So all of that was really great. But it is, the lessons from a fast move are that you do need to prepare yourself a little more. Are you actually willing to leave your family behind, your children, when they're at an interesting stage? Are you willing to leave the cafe that you love and the dog park and all that kind of stuff? That's the sort of thing that people don't think about enough. They just have in mind, I'm going to be on the beach. I'm going to be in nature. It's not enough.
Yeah.
It's a great point, really good point.
Let's talk a little bit about your business as well, because you did start a business as well. It's called Bad Mother Media. I'd love to know the story behind that name.
Well, it was when I was, my kids were at primary school and there seemed to be this division every day at the school gate, at the pickups. There were the bad mothers who had jobs and therefore they weren't looking after their children enough. And then there were the bad mothers who didn't have jobs and they were looking after the house and they weren't very good role models for their children because they didn't have a job and they weren't independent. So it just seemed this stupid thing that we were pitting ourselves against other women, or the world was pitting us against other women. She's a bad mother. She's a bad mother. It just drove me bananas. There is no such thing as a bad mother unless it's your bad mother. Yeah. And then I'm happy to take that. Yeah. I'm happy to buy my kitchen dancing. Yeah. But yeah, it was sort of a big part of my consciousness when I did have kids and I was trying to juggle what was then a national level career, and running a household and a marriage and all the rest of it. Like there's a lot that goes into it. So yeah, and I think that the world tries to make us all not quite feel good enough, and I hated it. So that's where it came from.
Yeah. And what is it sort of that Bad Mother Media does?
When I first started it was awesome. I was working 5 days a week because coming out of COVID, there are a lot of women who'd changed careers and they were running their own business and they needed someone to take care of things as basic as write them an absolutely killer LinkedIn profile, do their EDMs, all of that kind of stuff. So I suddenly had these great clients who were paying me more money than I'd ever dreamed of. It was amazing. Plus the age column, I felt wrapped in myself. It's like, this is really easy starting a business. But then, of course, AI happened. So now I've only got a very small handful of clients left who I love and I'm appreciative of. And the age, of course. So I'm constantly reinventing. At the moment, I'm launching a hot fudge sauce business and I'm starting work at the local bookstore.
Which is, we discussed this a little bit before we talked about microphones.
And yesterday was your first day.
Yeah. Yeah, my first retail since 84 when I was in year 12 and worked at Myer, Knox City.
But like what, that would just be, I often think, right, like we put a lot of value on these really high pressure jobs or whatever, but like sometimes there's a lot of joy just to do something which is just a nice job in an environment that you enjoy. And it doesn't, like, not everything has to be a huge professional palaver. Sometimes you just want to do something gentle and it's okay.
And I love that you said that because that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I've told a couple of people, they're like, what? You're working in a bookshop? Like, yes. Could there be a better place to work? Like books have been, along with chocolate and maybe Keith Urban, my life passion. So like, why not surround myself with them? But you're exactly right. Like I'm at that phase where as per my plan that I wrote out by hand, I didn't want to have a stressful career and do the hustle anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I've done that for long enough. I wanted to find that, I hate the work-life balance phrase, but I wanted to find that thing where every day I get up and I am excited about my life. I'm not thinking, oh my God, I've got to have that long meeting and I've got to do this or that. And I've got to
have
write
1,000 emails to respond to, and I hate that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've got to write something that I don't even believe in and that is not lighting me up. So that has become my driving thing. Our mortgage is not huge anymore. The kids are gone. We own now 2 European cars. We can have holidays, twice a year. So that for me, if I am able to leave my house and work a 5-hour shift and put my good clothes back on again that have been mouldering away in the wardrobe for 5 years, that's enough for me. And I get to talk to people all day and unpack boxes of beautiful books.
Well, it's interesting, Kate, you say you get to, because this is this thing around I've got to do things or I get to. You're in this mindset in this phase of life where you get to and you're loving it.
Absolutely. You're a terrific interviewer. Yeah, that's exactly right. I get to do this. I am the one who's planning it. And sure, my superannuation is mouldering away with, minimal contributions. And that's the other thing about starting your own business, which I wasn't prepared for, the fact that I have to allocate money to tax and I have to allocate money to my own super and I have to pay.
This is my safe. This is the
Yeah,
safe
yeah. Now
space.
you know where.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, see, I'm loving to talk
Ryan's,
about that too.
Yeah, Ryan's lighting up.
Ryan, that is my. I do not do regrets in life, but if I could change one thing, it would be that I would put aside, say, 10% of my salary every single pay.
And we're just not taught this, Kate.
I know.
We're just not taught this. That's the thing.
I know. My parents were interesting. Dad never spent any money, and Mum was always like, "You cannot take it with you," and spend. So I never had really good financial, not necessarily role models, but knowledge.
Yeah.
We just sort of came in and it was divvied up. So most of my adult life has been that way. I'm pretty good at spending. And not that good at saving. And I think that, this is something that I hammer at my children who are now all adults. Just 10%, put it aside. So for me, that whole idea of the financial responsibility is something that I have learned in the last 5 years, and I'm loving it. And I wish I'd learned it earlier.
Well, and because without being taught, then it just creates we're hard on ourselves, creates a bit of a cycle of blame and judgment. And we're the hardest on ourselves, right? As opposed to helping people learn, increase levels of financial literacy. We talked on this show before, and that's the opportunity. So,
and I think that flows through into everything that you do. If you're under pressure financially, and if you don't have everything sorted out and systemized, and you don't have that goal and know where you're going, I think that affects everything, like health, relationships. You wake up at 3 a.m, am I going to have enough super? That's sort of running through your head.
And Steph and I have discussed this multiple times. When it is hard or it's not working, but we look at everyone else, don't we, Steph, as if they've got their own SH1T sorted, so we're even harder on ourselves, and then that compounds off the back of that, as opposed to coming back to self.
I honestly think that Kate is actually the perfect example of what we talk about a lot on this show, where you didn't just power through with a huge mortgage. You weren't just sort of going through on like a sleep mode. You made some conscious decisions about what you wanted from life, and then you made those decisions. And because we talk a lot about doing the high profile career in order to earn, in order to make a lot of money, in order to fill this more, this cavernous need, which actually isn't making you happy at all. And then if you actually stop and think about what do I want? It's maybe I don't want to have to compete in the corporate circus anymore. I want to just work at a bookstore part-time and focus on my writing, and that's fine. And he did all those things.
Yeah, I did do all of those things. Just before COVID, I had a redundancy from Who magazine after a really long time, one that I didn't see coming, and I was sort of, what am I going to do with myself now? And I went off to see a career psychologist, so a psychologist who specialises in planning next steps, particularly for midlife people. And I was, she came with really big raps. I was so thrilled to get in to see her. And when I walked in and, I loved her vibe instantly. We sat down, why are you here? And I said, oh, whatever. She said, right, basic question, what is your debt level like? I said, oh, it's pretty high. And she said, like what? I said, pretty high. She said, how big's your mortgage? I said, it's about $800K. And she literally did a clap and said, that's it. We can't talk anymore. I'm not saying, I won't charge you for the hour, but you need to leave now. What? I said, what's happening? She said, you can't actually get anything she said, your dreams, there are no dreams because you are simply beholden to this debt.
Servicing the debt.
Yeah, you are just servicing a debt, and you've got this house that you now have to have, have you got cars? Yeah, well, you have to insure those and you have to have life insurance and home and contents insurance and all of this insurance to pay for this stuff that you've already got a massive debt on. She said, no, door is closed. And she literally sort of ushered me out the door and she said, go home, ring your real estate agent, sell that place, get a smaller place, literally quash your ego. You do not need this place. You stop keeping up with the Joneses. I'm like, whoa, okay. And I got in the car and started crying. Like I've just been kicked out of this woman that I really wanted to talk to.
Sounds like some really tough love.
Oh, but it was really good advice. And, of course I ignored it. It took me
At first,
went home and was like, what just happened? But, that's what came back to me when the terrible period in COVID. Yeah. It was just like she was right. Like, who am I trying to prove this stuff to? Yeah. I'd done the private school thing with my kids. That was in the past. The orthodontist had been paid. Yeah. The $5 million that cost.
Yeah. Why am I getting this feeling, Steph? We need to talk with this lady.
Who's the careers advisor?
We'll take it offline, but I think we need to speak with this. But this is good.
I love that. I love the boldness of that, of just wrapping it up. But, it's funny how something like that at the time might not have been the time that you needed to hear or, wasn't the right time for that message to play through, but it sort of laid eggs in your brain and came to fruition when it needed to.
Right. And that's very much the message that I give anyone that I see, younger friends who I can see have got these needlessly enormous mortgages. I say needlessly, like I understand that people need somewhere to live, but it's like, who are you? Why are you doing this? Is it for you? Is it because your friends think that you've got more money than you have? Like what is the message? And that ultimately was what brought me down. I was clip-clopping along in my Chloe shoes feeling really wrapped and then looking at my bank statement, there's a real disconnect.
Yeah. It sounds like a couple of sliding door moments. One, obviously getting, the regular column and then meeting the career counsellor or career transition person. So those two have really helped you find yourself and what you truly want.
Yeah, very much so. And I do think that the book also was one of those moments where I could have said, no, the business is going okay for now and I've got enough clients. I don't really need to stop servicing them so that I can do this vanity project. But I'm actually really thrilled that I did because it gave me a lot more than having a book on the shelf, that creative process of finding out that what I really am, I am a writer, I love that. I love that knowledge that I have managed to publish a book at age 59. I still find it hard to go into any bookshop and not cry. And I always go up to the person selling it and say, this is my book. Thank you so much for stocking it, because I'm super grateful for anyone who helps with that. But, people send me, oh, here's your book next to Gwyneth Paltrow's book at Sydney Airport and it's next to Dave Grohl at Brisbane Airport. And
how cool.
Yeah,
how cool.
I know, right? Yeah, it feels really great to have actually achieved that. And I think it's a good book. I'm proud of the product that I've put out, if you want to call it that. I think that it, as I said, ostensibly about one woman, but I get messages all the time from people who found me, who've read it, just saying, this book, I felt like you're inside my head. Men and women who say I really related to the addiction story. I too have a partner who's an addict, and you gave me some hope or some inspiration. Women who say, yeah, for me, the empty nesting was the hardest part of midlife, which is not often said, and that for me, it's not a community service that I've done, but I'm really, really rapt that it has landed with people who are reading it and think, oh, I'm at that same stage too.
Why do you think it has resonated with a lot of people? Is it that these are very universal themes, or is this just something that, you're going through a lot of similar stories to a lot of people at your point in life?
Yeah, I think both. I think they are universal themes, but again, I think that most people don't write about it. There's an agonising page or two on the shock perimenopause symptom, which I didn't know, which is vaginal atrophy. No one talks about that. I did
not know that.
Yes, it's great when it happens.
Write that one down.
Yeah, write it down and look out for it.
It's news to you. It's certainly news to me.
Exactly, yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. Again, I tried to as with the column, if I have the privilege of this space to feel, I want it to count. I don't want it just to be generic, and I want it to count. And so it was like that with the book. And I do think when you get to midlife, there's lots of stuff coming at you that you don't expect. You do think that your 20s and 30s are going to be harder while you're working out who you want to live with, and if you want to have kids, and do you want to buy a house, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, who am I?
And and I'm finding that you have to find out who you are again in midlife all over again.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah,
I'm just sorting it out now. So I don't want to do that again. It's exhausting.
You're going to have to do it again, and you'll love it. Like, it's a whole new you. It is a whole new you. And, I have a reason. My second marriage, I never know how long it is. I think it's 10 years now. Again, you are a whole new you in that marriage. The new relationship brings new financial circumstances and new career dreams and new everything. So I love that you keep changing. I would hate it if I thought I was the same person that I am in my 20s.
Think of it, Steph, more as an evolution.
Yeah, again,
improving as opposed to changing.
I will say this: every decade that I've been in has been a better decade. So, I thought, because everyone romanticizes the 20s, don't they? It's like, but 20s are objectively awful time. Like, you have no money, you don't really know who you are, and you don't really know where your place is. But 30s have been great. I'm staring down the barrel of 40s. And I reckon, once I would have found that a little bit scary, but now I think it's actually, if the trajectory remains the same, I reckon it's going to be okay.
I reckon it's going to be ripper. It is. It's just about how you deal with it. I think that the thing that mostly we hear a lot about in midlife is perimenopause and menopause. And for me, look, it wasn't great, but I think everything in life is as good or bad as you think it's going to be. So I decided early on I was going to have a really good menopause.
Yeah.
And good perimenopause. So, putting aside, yes, the thumping heart at 3 a.m. and the memory loss, like, oh my God, what is the chorus to blah, 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 what is it? What is it? All of that stuff. It's just another biological phase for me. It's the reverse of going into puberty. So I think that you just get through it.
And again, Steph, power of mindset. We are the story we tell ourselves.
So now that you've written a book, it's on the shelves, you can see it, you're happy. Would you do it again? Do you have a second book in you?
I mean, 3 months ago I would have said,
no.
Hell no. Yeah, because it is so much harder than you think it's going to be. Like, it's really, really hard to write a decent book that will then get published. What I miss is the actual creative writing process, surprisingly. I thought maybe I'd burn myself out by sitting in my little converted garage office, tapping away those 70,000 words. But I'm missing the creativity. So I think that's what I want to tap back into. I'm not panicking, though. For me, I do feel like I love that I've created this life where I am getting to pick and choose what I want to work on and what I want to do. And so if that is another book in maybe a year's time, I do want to get the fudge business and the book selling under control, first of all. But I want to, I think it's part of that midlife thing. I want to have a really rich life. I think that, we swap our precious time for this social construct, which is money. How much is your life worth to you? And if you've only got another 10 good, healthy years left, and this was the other thing that the careers psych said to me as she shooed me out the door, you might, how old are you now? Right, you've probably only got 10 years of good health left before things start falling apart. She said, are you still in love with your husband? I said, yeah. She said, great. Nurture that. That's what's important, not the appearances. And so I'm really trying to stick to that framework, which she sort of gave me in our 5 minutes
together.
This
is like a drive-by advice.
But I really like it too, because I know that some advisors will talk even in terms of summers or people's favourite. So you've got 10 summers left. It makes it more real, or someone's favourite time, or it's 15. I was speaking with an advisor this morning, and his clients would hit 60, he talks about 15 good summers left. And he wasn't about he was just trying to make it more real for them. Go.
See, right.
Go and do what you want to do.
I love that. I mean, what advice do you give? Because for me, I have a great advisor, and she is all about that you have to enjoy yourself now. You have to do that. Yes, we want to set you up so that when you're 70 and 80 and 90, you've still got some money. But, those years are the years when you're not going to be wanting to go to Morocco and trek, You're going to be spending more now. So do it. Make it count. What do you want?
So we talk about today and tomorrow. So enough. So have the fun today, but also have enough for tomorrow. And this is why we find the power of projections. So when people are really clear about what they want to do short, medium and long term, the financial strategy will dictate income, expenses, assets and the like, and will make sure that they have longevity of money. When people can see that on one page, that their money will outlive them within reason, then they can really turn to doing what they want. It's the power of, without too much Excel, it's the power of a projection. On one page, my money will safely outlive me. So what I want to get to. And sometimes I know our advisors, and one in particular, are challenging his clients to do more in retirement, spend more in retirement, take the holiday, whether it's New York or whatever it is. Look, the money's there, it will be okay. So what do you really want to do now?
And so I love that. And I read somewhere the other day it was a story, I can't remember where, on this thing that we have, we feel this compulsion that we must leave money for our adult children, whereas they're actually going to have much more super than we ever did because we started at 3 or 4%. So our super isn't going to be, it's going to be tiny compared to theirs. So, spend the money now.
Exactly. And along that, and it's a much bigger discussion, Kate, but around living legacy, and Steph, we've talked about this before, not having to gift it if you don't have to when you passed away. How about gifting some now so you can watch the next generation or multiple generations enjoy that, whether that's school holidays or anything else. So there's a whole big piece around that intergenerational wealth transfer at the moment.
I love that. I'm going to have to sell a lot of hot fudge and books too.
You will.
To fund that.
I get a feeling you will. You'll sell a lot of your own books in the bookstore. I know that.
Yeah.
Looking for a summer read, anyone?
Yeah, Chloe. Clever little psyop, I think, getting them into people's books piles around Christmas.
I hear they're all signed as well.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah. Where can people pick up and meet you in person and buy a book from you?
Yes.
Exactly.
So if you get people to take one thing away from the book that you've written, what do you want it to be? What do you want people to take from your story?
Oh, wow. That is a great question. What do I want them to take away? Well, that a sense of humour is important because you're going to need it. But also, have a plan for your life. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but actually know what you want in life and what that looks like. If it's, I never want any children and I want to live 6 months of the year overseas, fine, write it down and make that happen. If, whatever it is, I do think that you need to know what you want. Because then you can actually create the life that you want instead of just this life that society says that you should have, that you need a house of a certain size, that it's got to have a theatre room and, that you need to go on holiday to this place. You need to have some pink seersucker shorts if you're a bloke and you go to Noosa and I don't know what it is, I think that you have to actually know what you want and live your own life. Don't live someone else's.
Kate, thank you so much for sharing your story. Where can people find your book, Boogie Wonderland?
People can find Boogie Wonderland anywhere. It's online and it's in bookshops. Yeah, it's
all over the place.
All over the place.
Next to Gwyneth Paltrow's book.
And Dave Grohl.
Grohl, yeah, sometimes. Again, thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow Money and a Good Life wherever you're listening now so you never miss one. And we're going to see you next time. Advice given in this podcast is general in nature and is not intended to influence decisions about investing or financial products. Our listeners should always seek their own professional advice that considers their own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.